Stephen Colbert is claiming he's been silenced by the FCC and CBS. There's just one problem. Folks, we've looked into it and have to confess, it turns out, no, it's Stephen himself who has decided to destroy late night and is now not telling the truth exactly when it comes to why he was disallowed from having a segment he wanted to air on TV. Now he's going around CBS and Skydance. Will he be the next to be danced out into the unemployment line? We'll tell you right now. Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, damas y caballeros, to the channel that continues to give you the news you need to know, and often before the drive-bys even get a whiff, a sniff of what's really going on. Today we'll tell you why it's not the FCC that is censoring Stephen Colbert, it's himself. Yes, he is in charge of making sure he doesn't get to say what he wants to say. As we dive in today, all we ask is that you click that like button, and without further ado, here we go. Stephen Colbert is having a hissy fit over the FCC, but we're here to tell you it's completely and totally fake. And we're going to shake that out. Receipts on the way. From thatparkplace.com, the website that if you're not yet bookmarked to, well, you should be, by Marvin Montenaro. Stephen Colbert lashes out at CBS after network blocks partisan Senate candidate interview. What's really going on here? Well, get ready, folks. We'll explain. Late night host Stephen Colbert is publicly clashing with his own network after CBS blocked an interview with a sitting politician. A decision rooted in federal broadcast law, but when Colbert framed on air as politically motivated censorship. The dispute centers on an interview Colbert conducted with Texas State Representative James Tallarico, who is currently running for U.S. Senate. According to reporting from Variety, CBS lawyers intervened before the segment could air, citing concerns over the FCC's equal time rule, one that's been around forever, a regulation requiring broadcasters to provide comparable airtime to opposing political candidates. Colbert revealed during the Late Show that the network's legal team contacted staff directly and told them in no uncertain terms that the interview could not be broadcast. He also disclosed that he'd been instructed not to discuss the situation publicly. And then he ignored that and did exactly the opposite to his bosses on air. The quote that he gave from Midas Touch, he was supposed to be here, but we were told in no uncertain terms by our network's lawyers who called us directly that we could not have him on the broadcast. And now, guess what? James Tallarico is posting it. Posting the segment online, says this is the interview Donald Trump didn't want you to see. His FCC refused to air my interview with Stephen Colbert. Trump is worried we're about to flip Texas. Folks, we can't play it because we'll get dinged for it. Not by the FCC, but by Colbert. Crazy, shocking, I know, but he'll do it. Guys, this is all a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of hogwash. It's a bunch of silliness. Here's the reality. You ready for this? Colbert refuses to put Republicans and conservatives on his show. And because he refuses to do that, he cannot put candidates of the other side on without breaking the equal time fair rule for the FCC. This is Colbert's decision. Colbert is refusing to put on the opponent. Therefore, this is an entire drama made up by late night, non-funny comedians pretending to be under siege when they're the ones who want to be completely and totally partisan. They're hacks. And this is an attack on the Ellisons, on Paramount Skydance. And Marv, he's daring them to fire him ahead of schedule.
Well, one thing, he has posted the full interview in its entirety on the Late Show's YouTube page, all 15 minutes of it. So completely unedited, in full. They have grounds to suspend him at the very least right now for what he did with this. But we cite in the article on thatparkplace.com a study from last year, which stated that from 2022 to 2025, he had only one Republican.
Who was the Republican?
Yeah, 176 left-leaning guests and one Republican, and that one Republican was Liz Cheney.
Oh, she's a real Republican. This is why CBS was forced by Stephen Colbert to nix the segment, because Colbert will not host any other viewpoint than his own. And therefore, CBS had to say, we can't do this. It's in violation of the FCC, their lawyers, and Colbert is pretending to be under attack. It never stops, guys. But we expose it all the time. Marvin, anything else you want to add about this one? It's so silly.
You look at Bill Maher. He's on the left, obviously. He routinely invites conservatives onto his show, and they have a spirited back and forth. One of his best friends is Ann Coulter, and they have like very spirited debates between the two of them on his show. So Bill Maher is a guy who is secure enough in his viewpoints, who will be able to actually stand by them and have a back and forth conversation with people like Ann Coulter, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, bunch of other Republicans that I've seen him have on there periodically. And yeah, Colbert, Kimmel, they will not have any of them. There was this big study that we cited here. It points out not just Colbert, but Jon Stewart, Jimmy Kimmel, Seth Meyers, Jimmy Fallon. None of them have Republicans on. It's all Democrat talking points. And at that point, the show stops becoming a comedy show, an entertainment show, and becomes a political rally under the guise of comedy.
Yeah, Jonas, this makes MS Now look like they're in the center.
Well, yeah, because on MS Now, they have to couch it in some idea of delivering the news. With Colbert, it's the same thing with John Oliver. It's the same thing with Samantha Bee. May her career rest in peace. It's the same thing with Trevor Noah and Jon Stewart. They took that singularity of Jon Stewart being popular on The Daily Show and said, hey, let's do this everywhere. Let's turn the entirety of late night into The Daily Show. And I think we've seen that that's been a disaster. That has been the death knell for that entire genre. So people actually love hearing celebrities talk to each other and flesh out what they're thinking on these things. And it's an amazing thing that you can take something that people are interested in and turn it into something that they would rather not have to waste any time on. So this injecting politics into everything has been the death of entertainment.
Let's talk about that for a minute, Culture.
At least establishment entertainment.
Let's talk about that for a minute, Culture, because there's something else in these numbers that really tells us what has happened to late night as it's dying. I mean, Stephen Colbert has 3 months left. Jimmy Kimmel has at best 15 months left, unless Dana Walden decides to promote him, and she might, because she is absolutely political to the core. But take a look at this number again, because it's not explicitly stated here, but there's something to be seen beyond the pale. There's a meta that we need to discuss. A media study, it says, conducted by Newsbusters examining the late show's booking trends found that since 2022, Colbert has hosted 176 leading guests compared to just one Republican. Now, Culture, if you just figure out, and this study came out last year, I believe, so that's about 3 years, okay? If you just figure out how many shows Colbert does, he doesn't do every single night. He takes large amounts of time off, as do these other late night hosts, okay? And that's to keep costs down. 176 left-leaning guests, aka political guests, 176 political guests. These are political shows. They're not about promoting movies and TV shows anymore. They're not about promoting celebrities, really. These are political shows, and they should be under the FCC if you've hosted 176 political guests for your show as your headliners over the years.
Well, I think that we have to accept that the networks realized that their real competitors were people who were thoughtful, that engaged on the issues. The rise of people also just like Rush Limbaugh and many others. By the way, the loss of Rush Limbaugh was 5 years ago today. But it really kind of drove home the idea of the fairness doctrine that we're actually kind of talking about indirectly today. The idea that you have to present the alternate viewpoint in time. And there's been studies, done by multiple places, including the Cato Institute. But what actually happened is that because there wasn't a place to interact or become involved as an audience, talk radio gained prominence. We are the next iteration of that. That's what YouTube and Twitch and all these conversational opportunities that we have with live streams, that's where we originate from, was from talk radio, the ability to talk to somebody about a particular piece of subject matter. And unfortunately, the networks and even the cable networks didn't recognize that they were going to lose ground with audience because they never offered up an opposing viewpoint. And as you pointed out, and many others in this article even pointed out, was Bill Maher's can fully engage with the other side of a conversation. Colbert, outside of what he originally used to do, which was amusing, playing a conservative, you know, he was more effective at pointing that out. But these are, you hit the nail on the head when you say these are absolutely political shows, because they only present one viewpoint. They only make fun of one side. Everything is quite directed in one direction. And this is because they are a direct cultural influence or interface, we should say. And that interface culturally is maybe one of the reasons why people are turning the channel pro. At least that would be what I would suggest.
Yeah. Vash, all they had to do to make this be honest was he could come out and said this. Folks, read along with me. I'm going to read the quote. I'm going to change it so it's modified to be truthful. You ready, Vash?
Please.
Quote, he was supposed to be here, but we were told in no uncertain terms by our network's lawyers who called us directly that we could not have him on the broadcast unless we were willing to also have the other politicians running for the same seat on the broadcast. Bash, that's all they got to do. It's the same rules for everybody. It's just fair.
Well, they can't. Oh, they can't do that because they can't. You know, they can't be seen as kowtowing to the Trump administration or even Republicans in general. So we can't possibly do that. It's very interesting how this whole thing has played out, because how do you even conduct the interview? Or schedule, you know, this particular politician in the first place, with the understanding that you would have to give equal time, or that the lawyers had said something about it, or anything like that. It's just very unusual how all of this would play out in the way that it has. Maybe perhaps knowing that information in advance, which would suggest that this was always the path that they were going to take, releasing this as additional content in other platforms and so forth. But it's, you know, Colbert has to make this a fight with the Trump administration, always, all the time. Yeah, I mean, it's part of the brand. So I'm really not surprised to see how this is actually played out here. That's for sure. And here's the thing too. I mean, yes, the fear of the FCC is cited, which makes it sound like this was a directive by the FCC. And I think that's why they're playing with the verbiage there and not really bringing out the fact that the lawyers told them not to do this. So it wasn't even, you know, they got a letter from the FCC or whatever, but you see the headlines, you see how this is kind of being constructed to give that, to provide that sentiment.
And the substrate of all this, Marv, I'll give you the final word on it. The substrate of all this is they're terrified. The legacy media is terrified because the Ellisons own Paramount Skydance. Paramount Skydance bought CBS and is cleaning house there, getting rid of Colbert. And it's looking like now they're likely to buy Warner Brothers that owns CNN. And that means they're going to clean that up as well. Oh, yeah. That's what that's what this all burns down to at the very bottom of the foundation, why they're worried.
Look, this cabal of rich and powerful people on one side of the aisle have controlled pretty much the entire message coming from these major news organizations and from late night and Hollywood and whatnot for years and years. And now there's a disruptor at play. The Orange Man was the first disruptor. Ellison is the second one. And if Ellison can get his hands on CNN, can get his hands on Warner Brothers, then suddenly the game is completely changed. Now, all of a sudden, there might be centrist viewpoints coming through, to break through the noise. And that's what they don't want more than anything. So, yeah, it would be interesting to see if CBS suspended Colbert, but I think that's what Colbert wants, because then he'll get the Jimmy Kimmel push, right? Like if they take any kind of action against him, they're going to line about free speech. And again, guys, free speech, he's allowed to go on social media and say this stuff. He's allowed to go on, to go out in the street and scream it into the air. No one's going to stop him from that. He's not going to get in any trouble for that. But you are not allowed to go on someone else's airwaves and say whatever you want. That is not free speech. And this willful, I believe willful, disregard of what free speech actually is for the sake of a political argument has been nothing short of disgusting since the Jimmy Kimmel situation has started. So,
chances that he gets kicked to the curb?
0.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're going to try to live with him, but he's going to be, he and Kimmel, I think, are going to be unbearable for the rest of their tenure. Just unbearable.
He's already going to get a the Viking funeral from the left in 3 months. They don't want to start it early.
Oh, Bette Midler's going to sing him off. Oh, that's hilarious.
Better than Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger got. As ever, folks, we endeavor to have a good time here on the Pro Channel, and I have to say, that spending time with you, talking about things that truly matter, like the stories that shape our lives and our culture, well, it is the ride of a lifetime to steal from Bob Iger. And that's the only thing we'll steal from Bob because he has great security around his yacht. Folks, as we get ready to say goodbye, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, click it, and stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment right on down below. Let us know your thoughts. We would love to hear from you. And folks, worry not, for more content is still on the way. 3 or 4 times a day, let's do 4. I think that's better. And you know what? Don't forget that the Pro Show is live Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon Eastern. You can also join us for our friends on That Park Place, our partner program. We have a good time there too. Folks, until the next time we get the opportunity to have a good time with you, keep learning, keep growing, and as ever, keep having fun.